Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1992 Toyota Land Cruiser. Up front is a 4.0 liter inline six, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Land Cruiser for two reasons. First of all, it is extremely clean, and we'll talk about why a little bit later on. It's a very, very good example of a Land Cruiser. But the second reason is that here in 2024, early 2024, we have finally gotten a new Land Cruiser. It is coming to the market very soon, and so it's exciting to take a look back and see where we came from to hopefully get a good idea of where we're going. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And huge thank you to Low Mile Cars in Burr Ridge, Illinois, for letting me take out their Land Cruiser. You'll hear a lot more about them towards the end of the video, but as their title suggests, if you are interested in low mileage vehicles, please head on over to their website in the description below. But let's get back to that 4-liter inline six under the hood. No, it's not a V8, but if you care about that, you might be missing the point. This 4-liter inline six is very reliable and very durable. It's what helped give the Land Cruiser such a following, because these things are nearly unkillable. And so in this relatively low mileage format, just over 100,000 miles, this vehicle will last you a very long time. And that story starts with the inline six. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic. You could find these in manual, and that seems to be the enthusiast option. However, I don't mind the automatic. It's doing the job, and I have no complaints. Last but not least about the drivetrain, of course, the Land Cruiser is 4-wheel drive, and we'll talk about how to select that a little bit later on. So how does it feel to drive a 1992 Toyota Land Cruiser? It's big. It's a little harsh and unforgiving. Modern Toyota Land Cruisers ride a lot nicer than this. This still feels very bolt-on metal, rubbing is racing kind of style. And that's not a bad thing. It's just something you should expect coming into this. And the LX Lexus that came after it does ride a lot nicer as well. So something to think about if you're looking to buy one. But driving around just knowing that I'm driving one of the most dependable, one of the most honest and straightforward SUVs ever built is a very cool feeling. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 6 gauges that are all very easy to read. Off to the left is my oil pressure, coolant temperature, and tachometer. And off to the right is my speedometer, fuel, and battery voltage. The steering wheel just says Land Cruiser, and 1992 is the final year before airbags were legally required. And so I don't have an airbag here in the Land Cruiser from 92. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent, power mirror switches, and our gauge dimmer switch. And moving on to the door, we have our lock and unlock, power windows, and this really nice carryover from the 80s here with the door card fabric. Moving into the center, we do have a hazard switch as well as 2 climate vents and a digital clock. Very nice to see that. But then we get some interesting buttons. So we get our center diff lock. Very cool to see that. Rear defrost, and then up and down. These are unlabeled as to what they are moving up and down. It's actually the power antenna. So you can manually control the power antenna. And if you want to pop it up just 1/4 of an inch, you can do that with these buttons. Very odd amount of customization here for the power antenna of the Land Cruiser. Off to the left, we do have our climate controls. So fan speed, AC, where to send it, hot, cold, that's it. Very basic, but they work, especially here on this chilly morning. And off to the right, we have our standard Toyota radio. It does get a CD slot, which is insane for 92. Very early for that, in my opinion. As well as we, of course, have a cassette player, and it has the anti-theft system, Dolby noise reduction, and all of those goodies. Down below, we have our rear heat, high and low, and then, of course, a cigarette lighter and an ashtray. Moving into the center console, we have something up towards the front that kind of looks like a cup holder. It fails the big ring bottle test, but I think this is the closest we're gonna get in this vehicle. So, unfortunately, the 92 Land Cruiser fails. But moving into the center, we have the shifter off to the left, very standard Toyota shifter that we've seen in so many different vehicles, and we saw all throughout the 1990s. Very familiar, and I like how they function. But then off to the right, we have our high and low for the four-wheel drive, which is really, really cool. I've always preferred what I call manual four-wheel drive, where you actually have like a stick, as opposed to newer four-wheel drive, where it's just the push of a button or turn of a knob. I like having that physicality of the lever. Then in the center console, we get some coin holders, interestingly enough. A little center section also could, I guess, work as a cup holder, but it also fails the big friggin' bottle test. And then a giant plastic center console with nothing in it. The seats are decently comfortable. Now, this was before the luxury SUV era, so they're not the craziest, most spec'd out seats ever. They hold you within the Land Cruiser, and that was their primary job, and they do it pretty well. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, 2 more rows, so let's go do some backseat reviews. All right, so we're in the second row of the 92 Land Cruiser, and a couple of things to note. First of all, this is a Texas car, so you'll see a little bit of fading on the seats, but other than that, the seats are in incredibly good condition, which is awesome to see. I just want to give you some visuals back here. You don't really care about what I say anyway. The seats are hard. They're not very comfortable. They're not very forgiving. However, who cares? You're in a Land Cruiser. You're driving over mud, dirt, sand, rocks, all of these awesome things. I don't think rear seat comfort was at the very top of their list. Now, speaking of the third row, as you can see, they are folded up against the door. So, interesting way of how they did things back in the day, early SUVs, how to get that third row out of the way. They hung them up in the air. Now, modern SUVs, they fold into the floor, and we get that flat loading floor. But this is how they did it, and I just want to show off how incredibly cool that is. But let's hop into the back and talk about the cargo space. All right, so we're on the back of the Toyota Land Cruiser. Little key slot back here. Open it up like this, and it has a dual opening tailgate. So you open the top part up like this, and then you come in here, and you drop this down to give you a tailgate and a tailgate. I don't have 2 different terms for it, but very, very cool. A split tailgate, if you will. Once you are back here, you get this nice open loading space, but like I said, it's because the seats are moved up and out of the way due to those straps, which is some very cool engineering and thoughtful engineering for what they had at the time. Nowadays, everything folds into the floor. We're very used to that, but back in 92 wasn't really the case. Actually, Chrysler helped develop that technology with the Stone Go and whatever, so very, very interesting to see that stuff. When we are ready to close it, pop it up like this, grab handle here, and that is the back of the Land Cruiser. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I've always loved the look of this generation of Land Cruiser. I think it's very subtle, but it's also very powerful. You know, the voice actor who plays Optimus Prime said that when he was discovering the voice, someone told him that he had to be strong enough to be gentle. And that's the sort of ambiance he brought to that role. Well, I feel that about the Land Cruiser. It has to be strong and mighty enough to be gentle and supple. And so that's how the exterior at least looks to me here in the 92 Land Cruiser. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving this 92 Land Cruiser? I love it. This thing is an absolute beast, and they just don't make cars like this anymore. And I know you're probably tired of people on YouTube and the internet and just in your life saying, oh, they don't make cars like they used to. They really don't, though. The new Land Cruiser has a 4-cylinder turbo. As great as turbochargers are, it's another part that can break, and reliability for that vehicle is going to be up in the air, at least for a little while. This is tried and true. This has been given the test, and it has passed every single time. This is a strong, worthwhile, long-lasting automobile, and that's something that just isn't really designed anymore. With the increase of people leasing cars really only have to last 3 years, the lease terms, and then they get sold off, auctioned off to some person somewhere else, and it's not their problem anymore. This wasn't designed that way. This was designed to conquer terrains across the world and in any sort of situation. This isn't a pavement cruiser. This isn't a beach cruiser. This isn't a mountain cruiser. This is a Land Cruiser. So if there is solid earth below you, you can probably drive over it in this vehicle. And that's what Toyota wanted, and that's what Toyota engineered. If you'd like to check out my JDM Land Cruiser video, I will leave that linked at the end of this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Low Mile Cars here in Burr Ridge, Illinois. They specialize in vehicles around 100,000 miles or less and a lot of nostalgic modern classics. So please go browse their inventory. I'm sure you'll find something that you want, and their pricing is super, super competitive, which is really nice to see. If you want a low mileage survivor, you have to check out Low Mile Cars here in Burr Ridge, Illinois. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.